Okay, welcome to this afternoon session of Positive Aging Consortium on financial decision making and scamming. So I am Sandra Campbell. I work as a secretary in the psychology department, and I'm volunteering for the conference today. And I have the pleasure of introducing you to Dr. Keith Jax Campbell and Miss Paula Daigle. Dr. Campbell is a professor of finance at MTSU. His research interests include financial decision-making, investor behavior, and aging. His recent research focuses on financial decision-making of seniors, including the impact of cognitive decline and financial fraud. Professor Campbell earned his PhD in economics from the University of California, Berkeley, and his BA in economics from Harvard. He recently served as chair of the Department of Economics and Finance here at MTSU and chair of the Council of Chairs. He lives in Murfreesboro with his wife Lauren and two children, Daphne and John, and he's a member of St. Paul's Episcopal Church. Ms. Paula Daigle is Community Engagement Director of AgeWell, Middle Tennessee. Paula has over 15 years of experience working with and advocating for older adults in Middle Tennessee. She has a passion for showcasing the value older adults bring to our communities through community education on topics from caregiving, grandparents, raising children, and avoiding scams. Through her work with AgeWell Middle Tennessee, she has impacted the lives of older adults, caregivers, and professionals by aiding them in their caregiving journey through advocacy, information, and personal interactions. As a long-distance caregiver herself, she understands the unique needs families face in caregiving duties. Paula received her Bachelor of Arts in Public Relations from University of Louisiana Monroe and her Master of Science from Murray State University in Organizational Communication. She lives in Nashville with her husband and 3 children. So please help me in welcoming Dr. Campbell and Ms. Daigle.
All right. Thank you for that kind introduction. I'm Dr. Keith Campbell, and I am happy to talk to you today about how to spot a scam. That's what we will focus on, with the belief that if you can spot a scam, then you can stop a scam. Here's just a primer of how to spot a scam, and then we'll spend most of our time practicing with real scams. For each of these scams, I have an internet site you can see on your slides. It shows up at the bottom of the slide. That's in case you want to do a little more digging into any of these. It's also evidence of where I found the scam contact evidence. So a master scammer says that the secret to scamming is to get them under the ether. So ether is a chemical, it's a legal drug that gives people a sense of euphoria and sedation. So how can the scammer get you under the ether? Well, that's by hitting your fear, greed, and urgency buttons. So these are commonly used in scams. Fear, greed, and urgency. And we're going to practice with some real scams, spotting the triggers, spotting the fear triggers, spotting the greed triggers, spotting the urgency triggers. So very smart people get scammed. It happens every day. And looking back, they wonder, how could I fall for that? The scammers are very good. They're very good at using proven psychology to get you in a condition where you're not using your full faculties for smart decision making. They're very, very good at it. They use these common tactics. Phantom riches, the sense of scarcity. Something is limited in time or amount, so you have to act now. We're going to see that word again and again. Fear or intimidation. When people are fearful, they're not acting like themselves. Scammers will take advantage of that. And they also play on source credibility. There are many ways that scammers seem official. And we'll talk about how to spot these tactics and triggers in real scams. I want to make sure that all of you have our AgeWell brochure. AgeWell is community partner for this presentation, and Paula has brought these brochures. I've been doing research involving elder financial decision making and scamming for 8 years now, and this brochure is the best I've seen for putting together resources. My advice is take this home and file it away that somewhere you know that when you need this information, you can go to it. So most of the talk will focus on this be on the lookout, and we'll walk through the common scams that are in this brochure, which hits on common scams in our world today, and you'll get to see what some of them look like and practice spotting these triggers. So here is our first example. This is an IRS impersonation scam. I have a handful of these to show you. This comes to you by email. This is an email I found actually from the MIT website warning people at MIT about this scam. So this is the real email that was sent to many people at MIT. Dear applicant, after the last calculations of your annual tax refund, we have determined you are eligible to receive an extra tax refund of $1,400 USD. Claim your refund now. Okay, so this is where I need you. Here is an email that comes to your box. We want to learn in this workshop how to spot a scam. What are the common tactics or triggers that you can identify in this email? And if you see one, please raise your hand. We have a microphone. We are recording for True Blue TV, the MTSU production, so please speak into the mic and tell us your name.
Linda Murphy. The one thing I see is the extra tax refund. How do you know? And $1,400 USD instead of a dollar sign.
Yes.
I mean, what else would it be? This is the U.S. IRS.
Exactly. So supposedly this is the IRS, yes, telling you about a tax refund. Isn't it strange they would use USD? Right? That is indeed. That is commonly used by people abroad, indicating dollars when there's lots of other currencies used. I suspect that the scammer who sent this email probably is abroad, and that made sense to them. But inside the U.S., you won't see USD next to any official IRS document. So that is one of the triggers. $1,400 US. Who wouldn't want to get that, right? Is that real money that's your money that you can claim? No, this is a scam. So that is an example of these phantom riches. Phantom riches are very attractive. I see $1,400 and I want that, but it's not real. So there's phantom riches. What other trigger do you see in this? And please speak into the microphone.
Yes, my name is Ada Garcia, and I see one where it says, this email was sent from a notification-only address and cannot accept incoming mail.
Yeah.
So trying not to, I guess, get any information back.
Yeah, so that is commonly used by people. Sometimes that's used legitimately, and they're playing on something that could be legitimate, but they're not interested in interacting. They don't want you to reply and say, I'm not so sure about that, right? So they are trying to avoid, because what does this scammer want you to do exactly? It's not write an email back, and they're explicit. Don't write an email back. What do they want you to do? Click, exactly. Claim your refund. When? Now. Now is one of those urgency words that appears all the time in scams. We'll see that again and again. They want to excite you. This case, play on greed, right? And that's not necessarily a bad thing to want to claim a tax refund. Like if I had a legitimate tax refund, I would want to claim it too. But they're preying on greed that may be inside you that, ooh, I want this. And they're getting you to do it urgently. Act now. So if you click on this link, just take a wild guess. Do you think that link goes to the IRS.gov? Oh, of course not, right? Like that goes to the scammer who's then going to collect information from you, and are you willing to give it? Well, if you think you can get $1,400 now, you're probably going to give them your name, your address. Why are they at? Of course, yes. The IRS will never contact you like this, and we'll get to some guidelines from a U.S. Senator's office put out in just a second, saying the things the IRS will never do. Now, you might look at this email and go, you got to be kidding me. I'm not falling for that, right? Like too many things that just don't make sense. But what if you get this email? Hey, this email looks a little more official. IRS logo is right there in the corner. So must that be from the real Internal Revenue Service? No, right? How easy is it for a scammer to get that logo? A few clicks on the computer. There's now snippet features where you can go in and take any portion of a screen and copy and use that for anything you want to. So the scammer has taken the IRS logo, dressed up the email, same basic scam is here. Phantom riches, in this case $273.48. Again, get started. It's telling you urgency. Scammers prey on urgency. Click, get started. They want you to click this button, give your information. It's not just email. Hey, this is an example of a real text. Now it's preying on different triggers. It's still an example of the IRS impersonation scams, which are very, very, very common, but they're using a different trigger. First word, capital letters. Warning. So what does that give you a sense of inside? Fear. Exactly, fear. The IRS is filing lawsuit against you. For more information, call this number on urgent basis. Otherwise, your arrest warrant will be forwarded to your local police department. Your property and bank accounts and social benefit will be frozen by the government. So what do you see in this text? I agree, not proper English.
There's the +1, so that says it's outside the United States. So that was the first one. There are several different where the words are not correct. Bank accounts and social benefit, singular benefits, will be frozen by government. Frozen by government?
Right.
That's not normal way we would say that. For more information, call on. For more information, call. We don't say call on. So there's lots of, on urgent basis. On an urgent basis is what normal grammar would dictate.
I agree. So a lot of bad English giving away that's probably foreign sourced. They're doing the best they can to try to scam you. Some scammers are going to be a little bit more capable and clean up that, right? But you can still see the common triggers. Urgent. They want to create a sense of urgency. They want to create fear. So warning. IRS creates fear for some people. That alone. Also, police, warrant, arrest. They're throwing out as many words that strike fear in your heart. And this is completely a scam. You should not call that number. Now, this is my last example of an IRS impersonation scam, and this one gets tougher. Okay, the scammer is of this scam, I think, is being much trickier because they're actually using some language and formatting that the IRS does use, right? The IRS does send forms like this to taxpayers in their address. Okay, so this scam was working very well for the scammer and collected a lot of money for people before it was found out, because it did look so official. Many people just took the payment coupon and wrote the check and sent it to the address in the paper coupon. Everything pretty much looked legitimate about this. It was, well, what about it?
You don't write your check to IRS, you write it to the U.S. Department of Treasury.
This is true. So this is where the scammer has come in and put what they want you to think. That payment address on the very official looking payment coupon is not at all the IRS. Okay? So they are getting your money through this. This is not at all the IRS, but uses real information like your name and address, social security number. Right? There are lots of personal information that's been compromised. It's on dark web where scammers can get that, and they can copy very official looking statements. So this, a lot of people fell prey to this before it was stopped. How can you handle this? Because you might get such a message. Such a message like this is possible. So what can you do in a situation like that? One, don't be urgent. Okay? Check this. What the IRS wants you to do in a case like this is they want you to go to them directly. Beware any number or address in this document. Those are commonly faked. So go to your browser and you go to a trusted source like irs.gov, find their real contact information, and call the IRS. They can verify for you directly. But don't use any address, phone number in a mailing like this that you find suspicious. Many, many IRS impersonation scams are out there. And I think this is one of the tougher ones to identify. So I took this from a U.S. Senator's site because of how common IRS impersonation scams are. The senator put out this information, which is true about the IRS. The IRS will never call to demand immediate payment. It will not call without first having mailed you a bill, which makes that last one, really difficult. It will never demand you pay taxes out without giving you the opportunity to question or appeal that amount. They will not ask for credit or debit card numbers over the phone. The point was made earlier, the IRS already has this information. You should never be giving your information to someone that's claiming to be the IRS. They have all that. Okay, so this is very, very common type of fraud. Overall, the Federal Trade Commission keeps track of scams in the nation, and of the ones they know about, it's over $2 billion a year in scams. I just got this statistic yesterday from an attorney general at the Division of Consumer Affairs in the state of Tennessee. So Tennesseans lost $40.5 million to fraud in 2020. Fraud is very common. Again, Tennesseans lost over $40 million in the year 2020, and that's what they know about, right? So think about all the scams that they just haven't discovered yet that have been taking money for real people. So here's a video example.
Tamar, come on out here. Come here, Tamar. You're Tamar, right?
Yes.
Hi, Tamar. We're from Publishers Clearinghouse. And guess what? You've just won our Forever Prize. $5,000 for life. $5,000 a week forever.
Oh my God! Oh my God! I entered enough to win. Oh my God!
Of course you did.
Oh my God! Thank you, Jesus.
Is anybody else home? You know what that prize is, right?
Yes,
You get
yes.
$5,000 every week for your life. And then even after that, you get to pick someone and it keeps going.
Oh my God!
That's
Thank
like
you.
$260,000 a year coming in.
Oh my God! Am I dreaming? Lord have mercy.
All right, so what is this? This is a sweepstakes, and a sweepstakes win that is real. Okay, this is from the Real Publishers Clearinghouse. Okay, it does exist that people win the sweepstakes. Publishers Clearinghouse is real. They do give away money, but very, very rarely. Okay, so I wanted to throw you off the scent a little by showing this. I got it from the right source. This is produced by the Publishers Clearinghouse as part of their YouTube page where they record these giveaways. They are exceptionally rare. Okay, exceptionally rare. If the prize patrol comes to your house with the giant check and cameras and balloons and all that, okay, it's possible you could have won a sweepstakes. All right? It's incredibly rare. At this point, they're not going to ask you for any money. They're not going to ask you to give your bank account so that you're going to get the money and nothing else. Okay, so this is a real sweepstakes win. Let's look at common sweepstakes scams. Okay, so this has probably happened to many people, including people in this room. You get a text, right? Did you win this giveaway? Hi there, you won the Walgreens big raffle. You might, like me, use Walgreens all the time, right? You think, of course I would be winning this big raffle. They even put this number there, CR6136. It sounds like right. Now, notice the wording.
The surprise is misspelled.
Yeah, good check. Grab. Hey, grab. Don't wait. Grab. And grab what? 90 plus. Surprise. I find the plus kind of funny. 90 plus. And what is that? Is that real riches waiting for you? No, that's phantom riches. And they're trying to get you to act urgently with grab. You're right, surprise is misspelled. I doubt Walgreens would misspell surprise in a text. That's definitely questionable. And get here. Hey, now, there are these tiny URLs used a lot in text that aren't like, are these, very shortened things. So some shortened links are legitimate. You might think that looks like a crazy link, but I've seen some legitimate crazy links. Don't click that. They're looking for your information. This is a scam, okay? And there's a bonus to this scam. Limited time. Reply stop to opt out.
Confirms your cell phone number.
It does, exactly. It confirms your cell phone number is real. So if you do reply stop, is the result you won't get any texts like this anymore. You'll get more. You'll get more because they just verified this is real and someone is responding, okay? Now, Walgreens, a real text from Walgreens, they might have a stop to opt out. But if you're looking for scam triggers like grab and promises of money, you've probably identified this as a scam. Just delete it. Do not reply stop. Now maybe, right? We just saw the Publishers Clearinghouse. There are real sweepstakes. Maybe you're such a good Walgreens customer, you're convinced you're getting money from Walgreens. Okay? Fine. There's something you can do, but it's not get here. Don't click that link. Don't reply stop. Go to your web browser. Go to Walgreens. Call their number on their site that you went and found. And if Walgreens is really having a big raffle giveaway and you're a renter, then that number that you find through the Walgreens webpage on your own, they can tell you the truth, okay? Likely, they'll tell you, no, this is a common scam. We get calls like this all the time. But if you just want to be sure that's your method, go to your own browser and you find the official Walgreens number, okay? Now, who doesn't shop on Amazon? I do all the time. I get emails all the time from Amazon. And scammers know Amazon's a common company people interact with. So this text is another sweepstakes scam. Amazon EarPods and a raffle. Use this link to set the shipment. Anything that looks odd to you about this? Say again? The way it's written?
Aren't they usually Apple earpods, not Amazon earpods?
I do think that's questionable. So Apple makes the EarPods, but they want you to react to Amazon because maybe you shop at Amazon all the time, and that seems totally legitimate. I find it ironic that Amazon is asking me for my address because they ship to my house almost daily. They got it, man. If they want to send me something, they can send it anytime that they want. This is a scammer using what appears to be a company that you know and interact with a lot fraudulently in another sweepstakes scam. So this is not one I can really show you because this is one through the phone, but this is robocalling scams. They are very common. So this chart is some numbers on how many robocalling scams of these various types have been recorded. And notice at the top, interest rate scams, over 100 million calls. These are typically robocaller calls, so a machine is calling thousands of numbers. Many of those numbers are never answered. They call my cell phone number, it's a number I don't recognize. I'm not going to answer it, okay? Some numbers call me legitimately that I don't recognize and get in touch with me, but they can leave a message. I can listen to it and then choose to respond if I want to, okay? But what these robocallers are doing is they're spam calling these phone numbers, and they're looking for people to engage. So not only pick up, but often they'll have some kind of a voice that comes on and may say, like, press 1 now. And when you press 1, that tells them there's a real person here, and they will route you to a real person to complete the scam. Some people get calls like these, and they say, like, no, I don't want to talk to you. Well, your voice is also going to trigger that someone's on the line, and then they'll quickly try to keep you engaged in that call. So I think best on these robocaller scams is don't answer don't answer the call from numbers that you don't know. Let them leave a message, and you can go from there. If you do answer one of these, don't press buttons. Don't talk. Don't let them know a person is there. Hang up as soon as possible. Common stories. 0% interest rates. It's a phantom riches there. You get 0% interest rates. There's a problem with your credit card. And that's an insidious one because sometimes there are real problems with your credit card. I've had situations like that with my car companies. Again, what I do, if I get some kind of message like that and I want to know the truth, just like the Walgreens scam, step away from the message, go to the trusted source you know. Like go to your web browser, look up your credit card account, get the real customer service number directly from the web page that you know and trust, and then you can call your credit card company. If there's a problem, like that's a legitimate way to engage with them. Be very careful of engaging with numbers you don't know.
So a lot of times too on the credit cards, you have to remember if there is an issue, the credit card company picks it up before you do, and they lock your card before you have. So if you tried to charge something and your card's locked, then the text that you got probably was legitimate. Otherwise, very doubtful.
Yep. Yeah, and I will always go to my credit card company directly, not from that text or that call. And so I can piece apart the scams from the actual ones. Just so you're aware, some other common scams, free installation. You owe money to the IRS again. A discount trip, which sounds really exciting. Get a discount trip. You can save money. Your listing has a problem. These are common ways that they try to get you respond. Okay, next set, computer scams. You're working on your computer, going about your business, And all of a sudden, your screen looks like this. And you go, oh no, what have I done? Warning, your computer is infected. To remove viruses, call tech support now. Okay, who's waiting for you on the other end of this? It's not legitimate tech support. Okay, it is a scammer. And they might help you make this go away. Now, they're only going to do that after you've given them money. Okay, so what do you do if something like this happens on your computer? Okay, I've seen these. My advice, close it out. Close it out, restart your computer, turn it off if you need to, restart it. Okay? Many times this won't appear ever again. Okay? If it does, then it is possible that your computer does have a virus on it. Whatever you do, don't call that number. Okay, that's just a scammer trying to get your money. If a computer gets a virus, there are legitimate tech support businesses like Best Buy. You can go into Best Buy and they can help you with your computer and getting rid of the virus. Strongly recommend having good antivirus software so that this doesn't happen to you. But whatever you do, don't call this number, which will likely route you to a call center where they're going to get your money. So at the end of this talk, I'll show you a video of a real call center and what it looks like on the other end if you do call this tech support number. Okay? I hate this next category. It makes me so mad. We're going to talk about the grandparent scam. And grandparent scam happens many, many different ways, but it preys on the fact that grandparents care a lot about their grandchildren. And if their grandchild's in need, they'll do pretty much anything they can to help them. Okay, so many versions of this grandparent scam are out there. This is a photo of a real grandmother in New York State who got a grandparent scam call. Hey, this was also a bail scam mixed in with a grandparent scam where the caller sounded like her grandson. She does have a grandson, and the caller sounded just like him, probably similar age, and said very quickly to the grandmother, "Help, I'm in jail, I need bail money, talk to this guy." Well, grandmother's like, "Oh my God, what just happened?" And the person says, "Yes, your son's been arrested. Your son needs bail money or he's being locked up. $8,000 and we need it as soon as possible to set him free." Okay, so this grandmother was savvy about the grandparent scam. And she was bold. I don't recommend this next part, okay? But what this grandmother did, and you can look up the story through this link, is she talked to the gentleman and said, "I'll get your money. I'll get your money by this time. This is where I live. Come pick it up. I want my grandson set free." Okay? Then she picked up the phone, called her local police, told them the whole story, and the local police were waiting outside her home. So when the gentleman came to the door to collect the money, the police took him down on the yard. Okay? I don't recommend that strategy. Okay? I think back to you get phone calls from people you don't know. Best to not pick up, let them leave a message. Even if you get a message like that, right, like call law enforcement and find out the truth. Call them from a number that you found and you trust. Don't call back the number there. But this lady was very savvy about the grandparent scam, and she took steps further. Often in the grandparent scam, they will also say or text you through like social media site or your phone, and your grandson will say, "Please don't tell mom and dad," which also grandparent thinks it's up to me. I have to do this and I have to do this urgently so mom and dad don't find out. That's another telltale sign of the grandparent scam. All right, this next one has gotten very popular in recent years, and I can't really show you because it's very involved, but this is some common things that happen in what's called a romance scam. And there is a legitimate side to this, in that there are many online dating sites that are completely legitimate companies, and there are real people that have met other people and fallen in love and gotten married and all that wonderful stuff online through online dating. So I saw a statistic recently. I think it was 30% of U.S. adults have engaged with or have signed on to a online dating site. Okay, this is very common. There are legitimate elements of it. The romance scam is when scammers infiltrate these dating sites and pretend to be real people. And they are very good. They're very good at engaging with you in your interests, which they often find through your postings and social media, and trying to be just the kind of person you're looking for. Okay, so some common techniques that scammers use in these online romance scams is they often say things like, I'm in the military, and that explains why they're abroad, because there's many military bases abroad. They may say that they were foreign born, and that's just an attempt to try to explain away those improper English and grammar errors that are very common in these. They typically will engage with you for a long time before the scam the money part of the scam ever starts. Right? There are people who have fallen in love online with people that they've been talking for weeks and weeks, and they've shared stories, and they've stayed up late nights, and they are so convinced this is a real person who's fallen in love, right? And there are so many techniques for changing one's voice. It could be a man talking who's using a sophisticated software to sound like a younger woman. It's easier with text, of course, to hide gender, fake photos. These can be very elaborate. But where this money part comes is there's typically some kind of urgent event. It may be an accident has befallen this online love interest, and they need money now. It's the only way that they can get the medical care they need, for instance. Another one I've heard about, and this is actually from a coworker who shared, her father-in-law fell prey to one of these, and after weeks of falling in love with this online love interest who lived abroad, they were going to meet in Paris for a romantic weekend. And he sent her the money so she could fly from her country to Paris, where they were going to stay all weekend. And that was after weeks of interaction. Only the day before to be told, oh, I'm sorry, I'm sick, I just can't travel, what a shame. Let's set up the next opportunity. I need new money for a new flight. And that's when the family became very, very, very concerned. Now, I recently talked to an attorney general at the Tennessee Division of Consumer Affairs, and they get reports about these romance scams, and they say they're really heartbreaking. And one of the problems for them is this doesn't violate any of the commerce standards in Tennessee. So they can't do anything because these people think they've fallen in love, and they've willingly given this money as a gift. And so there hasn't been any, there's no commercial element that they can actually prosecute. So it takes federal resources, like the FBI can get involved with this, but it's really, really tricky. And it's especially hard if your loved one who's fallen prey to one of these romance scams is still convinced this person is real, and they're still willing to send the money. But romance scams have grown in popularity tremendously. There's also these government grant scams. There's another type. I know the text is very small. I'll describe this. There are real government grants out there. The government grants are a real thing. But what the scammers do is they want to convince you that you're perfect for this government grant, and there's $10,000 waiting for you. all you have to do is give them this smaller, much smaller amount of money, in this case 100 pounds, then they will help you get this government grant. And in that belief of phantom riches, people say 10,000 pounds, I only pay you 100 pounds, that's a great deal. No, because it's not real. Even if the government grant is a real grant, this person is just taking your money, okay? Government grant scams are very common. Ooh, this next one is tough, because what does this look like?
It looks like the check I got from the IRS for my tax refund.
It looks like a real check, right? Like it's one big wording, official logo. It looks like a real check. It's signed. Everything's in the right place. Those account numbers look real. And this is a counterfeit check scam. But here's the part most people don't know. Hey, someone gets a check like this, they might be a little bit suspicious. I don't know about this. And they think, I'll just try it. I'll just try it. So when you go to deposit a check like this, it often comes in a letter, and it says something like, this is real money, deposit in your account, step 1, and then I want you to subtract $100 for your personal fee. So take away $100 from this amount, and then write a check for $100 less to this account, this name, and this address. And so the person who gets this counterfeit check thinks it looks legitimate and says, I'll take it to my bank and I'll just try to deposit this. And if you try to deposit this, they'll take it. And you're like, wow, my bank just took this. This is real. I better subtract my fee, and I'll write that check today and put it in the mail, because I can get $100 for helping this person out. The problem is, this check is likely going to bounce. It won't clear the Federal Reserve System. You won't know that until 3 to 5 days after you deposited it, and by that point, your real money's gone. Okay? That's the counterfeit check scam. Now, there's a related scam, and I heard the words over here. There's a related scam. This often comes to people in a work-from-home opportunity. You can see this on Facebook, someone saying, work from home, you can make $500 a week, it's real easy, don't have to commute to any job. Here's how you get started, all right? So a common work-from-home scam is you're just going to process payments. And what they tell you is very close to a counterfeit check scam. But in this case, they're actually sending you a real check. And they tell you to take it to your bank, deposit it, subtract out your fee, and then write a new check with your checkbook for $100 less and send it here. Okay, now that check might clear if you're doing this work from home opportunity. You think, wow, this works. When can I get the next one? And you're taking in these checks by mail, and you're taking out your fee and writing checks. And it may seem like all real money. Well, the money's real, but it's part of an organization doing illegal things. And what you are, what's called a money mule, you are money laundering. Like you are breaking the law by taking someone's check, subtracting a fee, and writing a new check. So what that organization is trying to do is hide this money source. So if they can move it through multiple people, it's really hard for the authorities to track all of it down and recover everything. Okay, so that's a common work-from-home scam that does involve legitimate money, but in that case, an illegal activity. Okay, be very skeptical of checks, even if they look very legitimate from sources that you do not know. All right, so we're almost done with our examples before I get some takeaway points in our final video. And this is another one of those scams that's just, man, so tough. So this is a jury duty scam. Jury duty scams have become very common. We all get jury duty every once in a while. Hasn't happened to me for several years. And it's based on the idea that you might have had jury duty and maybe you missed that mailing. And so they're going to prey on urgency, they're going to prey on fear. This example happened in San Diego County, and the way it starts is you get a phone call and the ID, the real caller ID says San Diego County Sheriff's Office. Looks very official. Okay, first thing, is it possible to fake a caller ID? Yes, very easy. Just because it says San Diego County Sheriff's Office doesn't mean anyone's verified that. It's probably mean whoever owns that number has found a way to get their number to appear as that text. So for someone who lives in San Diego County where this was targeted, and they may even have some, family relative who had some business with the sheriff's office, they think this is very legitimate. So they answer the phone, and there's someone posing as an officer on the other side of the phone, says, "You missed jury duty. There are warrants out for your arrest," right? Again, urgency and fear with the arrest. Many people get this phone call are like, I want to talk to your supervisor, right? They know this kind of doesn't sound right. I want to talk to your supervisor, officer. So the officer gives them the number to talk to their supervisor. So they call the number they were given, and they hear a recorded message which sounds very official. San Diego County Sheriff's Office, and it has a bunch of prompts, and they press 3 for Court Services Division. That was all faked recordings. That number you were given was not a real supervisor. It's a confederate of the scammer. And they press 3, they talk to the supposed supervisor, and they say, well, because it's Saturday, there's only way you can pay is pay me through the phone. I need your payment information now or you're going to be arrested. So with that urgency and fear, people in San Diego County were handing over their payment information before this was discovered, and they did bust this ring. So it turns out these were prisoners who were doing the calls on a Saturday. And you might think, how do prisoners have phones? Well, this is the most commonly found illegal item in a jail, is a cell phone. And they get in all kinds of ways. So this is a photo of a hymnal, a church hymnal, where they had hollowed out the inside to put a cell phone, and they slipped it past, and that's how the cell phone got in. And these were just prisoners that were collecting money on the weekends, right? But using these very legitimate looking, and this is our last example. This is prescription medication fraud. The most commonly faked prescription medication is Viagra by a long shot. At one time, there were 650 websites selling Viagra. 650. The problem is that nearly all of these are selling a fake product that's designed to look just like the real one. So what these photos are from, so these are from U.S. Customs and Border Protection of seizures they've had of illegal prescription drugs. They look just like Viagra. It's that blue pill with the right shape. But they have tested some of these fakes and found all kinds of dangerous chemicals inside them. Okay, so I understand this. A man wants to be discreet and doesn't want the world to know, so they find a website online and they order what seems to be a really low-price Viagra. The problem is they're getting something that can be very dangerous to them. It's not just Viagra, but this is a very common prescription fraud. Okay, so we're getting to the sum and the end, but what is it that you should do to protect yourself? And these come straight from this brochure. This brochure is excellent. Be sure to save it in a place you can find again. You should lock down your social media accounts. Make sure that only your friends and family can access, because scammers try to use the information that's available there to find your hot buttons, to find your triggers, and get you connected to them. Put your phone number on the National Do Not Call Registry. Do it through the proper source. Now, does that guarantee you'll never get calls that are legitimate? No. Okay, scammers are breaking the law in the first place. The National Do Not Call Registry is not going to stop them. But it may help, one, reduce the calls you get, and it's going to let you know that person shouldn't be calling me, right? It's going to make you more skeptical. Sign up for AgeWell's free Scam of the Month email blast. I want to keep track on what new scams are coming, so I'm signed up for AgeWell's Scam of the Month. These do change through time. Okay, there are scams that exist now that weren't out there 5 years ago. So here's a way you can learn about new scams through AgeWell. Be skeptical, be patient, never act urgently. They always try to get you to be urgent. Seek advice and double check before making any financial decision. Be sure to tear up financial information, billing information. Don't throw real account statements in the trash. Someone can get those account statements out of your trash. They can use that financial information. The scammers are very good at what they do. So here's some do's. Here's some don'ts. Don't isolate yourself. Those people are much more likely to be scammed. Don't allow someone to pressure you into a snap decision. Be very patient about your money. Don't give away personal information to anyone you don't trust. Don't open emails or links you receive from unknown sources. And don't announce when your home may be empty. Okay, and many people do that on social media or say on Twitter, where everyone can see they're off on a vacation, which it creates an open door. So before we get to the last video, Paula, I just want to see, is there anything that you would like to add here?
I think just to be diligent and to share information. Our older adults, I was speaking to a group in Franklin on Thursday, and as I was speaking to them, the Franklin Police Department put out a warning that people were spoofing their phone number that day, calling people, doing the scam, the jury duty, you got to pay a fine scam. So be really diligent, share it with your neighbors, share it with your friends, and if you are scammed, don't be embarrassed. Don't be embarrassed, report it, because we're only going to beat them if we work together and try to do this together. So don't be ashamed, follow the resources and do that. And just one quick take on the Amazon scam. They're really targeting older adults right now because older adults don't shop on Amazon, but they're trying to confuse you. My mother-in-law fell for this one. Luckily, she didn't get any money. But they called her and said her Amazon order of 4 laptops was on hold because her credit card didn't go through. And she was so confused because she was like, I don't think I ordered anything on Amazon. So be really cautious. And older adults were not taught to be rude or impolite. And you need to be rude and impolite. It's okay to hang up. It's okay to not answer the door. It's okay to not answer your phone. Your moms and dads may not agree with me up in heaven, but that is what you need to do.
So this is the last thing I'll do is show you. This is on YouTube. It's from a very popular YouTuber, Mark Rober, who partnered with these guys of infiltrating a call center in India that is behind the phone on these scams. So this, it's a long video. You won't see the whole thing, but I think it's important to see what the other side of the phone looks like.
And by the way, now that we're inside, I'll give you a very quick crash course on what we've learned about how these scam centers operate after watching them for so long. First of all, 90% of the victims are 65 years old or above.
I don't understand that. I don't understand all of this.
They really only make calls during the US working day hours and not on the weekends, because that maximizes their chance the person who picks up will be retired. This is why you never get scam calls on Sunday. They don't have anyone even working the phones. In fact, many of them have an auto dial prompt that says press 1 if you're over 65 years old, and if you press anything else, it just hangs up. The most common scam is the Amazon refund scam, but they also pretend to be Microsoft, McAfee, Norton Antivirus, the IRS, and your bank, and on and on. It's always changing, but it's also always something you've heard of to try and build trust right out of the gate. If you want to know how much they make, well, that information unfortunately is securely held on the boss's computer, so we can't get to it. Although, I suppose if you had access to the internal cameras, you could just watch the boss type his password, and then you'd be able to access their master tracking spreadsheets, which is what we did, and how we know these large call centers make $60,000 per day. That's $18 million a year. An opener will take the initial calls, and they make an average of $7,000 a month. Then if they keep the victim on the phone long enough, they hand it over to a closer, and they make on average $15,000 a month. They never say the word scam or victim, instead referring to them as sales and customers. That way they just seem more like a normal office, although what I think does that job more convincingly are all the walls plastered with inspirational corporate words like synergy or management or process. So that's your crash course on how they operate. And the FTC has put out a list of 4 signs to help spot a scam and 4 things you can do to protect against them. And I'll link to it in the video description.
They go on to use their infiltration to prank them and glitter bomb them and do all this silly entertaining stuff. And at the very end of the video, they take all the information they've gathered and they send it to the Indian version of the FBI and the US FBI to try to shut down this call center. This is one of many in India just like it, where it's a big office building on multiple floors of big rooms like that who are just scamming people each day. Thank you all for attending.